So to start off, right, you answer the question, right? What, uh, okay. Now, how do you find this slide design? Do you have enough focus on the title of this?
Yes, it has. I mean, I feel.
It has, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now, does this one have enough focus on the title?
No,
No, right?
no.
Now, compared to the previous two, does this one have more focus?
Yes, it has more focus.
Right?
Because the font
Uh,
color is different. There was, I think the font was clashing. Like it was, the background was green as well
mhm,
as the font was green.
mhm. Yeah. Okay. So like you're experiencing the ease in reading things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. So that is what your experience is. It's easy. You don't have to make an extra effort to find something what you're looking for.
Right.
Right. So
Mm.
I don't call this user experience in training. I call this kind of functional design.
Hmm.
Okay. Out lessons on functional design from UX. All right.
Okay.
That is what I involve a lot as far as my slide designs or any content that I design for my customer. Okay.
Okay.
Mainly because it works. It does. What is? Are you aware of this famous quote? Right. Uh, Good design gets does not get noticed. Something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware of
I
it?
have heard it
Yes,
from
yes, yes.
you.
Heard.
Right. Okay, from me itself. Okay, so
Yes.
so yeah, I think during one of our feedback calls, I did share this tip with you. Uh, it is true in the sense like you didn't notice the problems with this design, but you notice the problems with the pixelated background image. Okay,
Mm.
which shows that although there were many elements, the background which we felt was worst, but if I remove the title from it, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that one looked cool, right? That was the coolest, like as far as the use of colors is concerned, standalone artwork is concerned, right?
Okay.
So,
Right? Wasn't it
Mm-hmm.
cool? Like it was so gizmo, so heavy on colors. Everything was like really like so. So it was a cool design. It was a good-looking design that would grab attention, but it didn't serve the purpose of what we were trying.
Right.
Okay,
Mm.
so bad design is so the lesson that we draw out of it is not functional. Okay, as
Mm-hmm.
in we couldn't use it to read the title.
yeah.
ठीक है easily. All right. So similar principle is something that I would like you all to implement when you are developing or designing, conceiving slide content in your courses. All right. There are certain things. This is the underlying philosophy that I wanted to sensitize you about. Uh, to achieve that place, right? To achieve that, there are certain technical rules as well that you need to follow, right? Uh, One thing is foundations of good design for slides and e-learning. Okay. One thing is simplicity. Okay. That is, we don't want things on slide that are not required. Okay. So keep only things that are required. Now I'll just on this slide, I'll just write bullet points. Okay.
Okay.
But you will still understand what I am saying, what I am trying to convey. Although this is not the coolest looking slide, you will not remember this slide for design, but it will achieve the goal. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
that is what your purpose of the design should be. You achieve simplicity by having the most relevant elements on screen. Okay. Now, these relevant elements, all right, need to be laid out in a simple manner. So it's an interrelation wherein if you include relevant elements, then it doesn't mean that you can put them anywhere. Okay. Now, layout of these elements needs to be as per user habits, logic, and relation. Okay. Now with user habits, I mean we design for audiences who read left to right and top to bottom. Had we been designing courses for people who read right to left, okay,
No.
then our designs would be different. Okay. Now I'll give you an example. In case you have a content slide, all right,
Okay.
then let me just pick this layout, what Microsoft is recommending me. This will still work, all right, although I don't like it, but it's a good example of showing the layouts of when I say user habits. As users read left to right, they will read this content first, and this image will not grab or distract them from the learning. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, because the user is reading left to right. So this will grab the attention. So in case, however, in case I am using a process diagram, which is explaining the relation between the content and the concepts. Okay. Then in that case, I will keep the image on the left. All right. And any placeholder thing on the right, or which could be few bullet points explaining how the process works. But visually, the process will grab the attention as it will come on the left. Okay. So that's why like user habits come first, what your user and what is the importance of the content on your slide. So align that with user habits and logic. This is the logic which I just explained, like decide what kind of content you are presenting on slide. If it is just a placeholder image, you can place it on the right. Even if I remove this, does it impact the quality of learning, right? So it means this image is irrelevant. I'm just including this image for the sake of it.
Mhm.
Okay. So then relation. Relation is something like a process diagram. Always try to, uh, I would call it technical relation, not even relation. Okay. Always try to see if there is anything that you can relate or use the content that is already there to assign a technical meaning to your slide design. If there is no technical meaning, plain bullet points are fine with a placeholder image like this. It's perfectly okay. It works fine, right? Even if you remove the image, it won't harm, right? But if you include something which is irrelevant, it will just add noise to your design and take the focus away from the learning experience, right? Okay, so it means that the design looks good. You may have the coolest image on screen, you may have the coolest process diagram on screen, but if it is not done right, if it is not functional, it is not serving the purpose of design, which is to teach in this case,
Right.
right? So every decision that you take as far as the design is concerned should drive a better learning experience for your target audience. Okay, so like now just take uh, 15-30 seconds. I'll be quiet. Take down your notes like on what you have done so far, right? And just keep it to yourself. It is for your own purpose, right? What changes you will bring. You can make your own summary and remember it. I'll be quiet for 10-15 seconds before I move on to the next part. So like what I used to do when I started my career, I used to refer to this resource quite a bit. Okay. It's called a periodic table of
Mhm.
visualization. All right. So it is something which is pretty handy in case you are stuck, right? Or if you have downtime, you can just go through it. However, just keep it in mind. If it is included on this periodic table of visualization, it doesn't mean that if you use it, it's okay. Whatever visualization method that you use from here, right? It has to be relevant and logical,
Mhm.
right? Never forget these things, right? It should align as per user habits. It should be logical to use, and technical relation of the content that you're trying to represent should be represented with what you have. Okay.
Okay.
Now, a lot of this Microsoft has really eased our job, right? So a lot of these things you can find in SmartArt as well, right? To which things as far as relation of content is concerned, right? So you feel free to use SmartArt, but make sure you use SmartArt color choices in a way that it doesn't overawe the audience with too strong colors. The focus should always, as far as learning design is concerned, slide design in e-learning is concerned, the focus should always be on the content, all
Content.
right? Because that is what we are trying to teach, right? Your design is a side actor, right? Or supporting actor. Like in case of movies, right? I always use this analogy with all new joiners in the company, wherein like in a movie, consider your slide, right? Like a movie. Okay. Now in this movie, right? Or let's say any movie, right? The hero or the lead actors are in focus, right? They
Mhm.
occupy maximum screen space. They occupy maximum attention in the story, right?
Yeah.
Whereas supporting actors, right? Supporting actors occupy less space, right? So I would say lead actor occupies maximum mm, space. So this allows us to infer that key content concept of the slide should occupy maximum real estate. All right. Now, supporting actors, like I'll just reduce it because it's occupy less time on screen. All right.
Mhm.
If your design element is a stock photograph,
Mm.
okay, is a supporting asset, then let it sit on the right, remove it, or keep it small so it doesn't draw attention away
Distract.
from the key learning of the slide. All right. Uh, okay. Now, if it doesn't mean that you shouldn't make any visual element the largest on the screen, right? All right. If your element, design element is visually teaching something,
Mm.
like the smart art on this screen, right? It is giving a relation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
Yeah. Makes sense.
let it occupy more space as that will appeal to all learners and especially visual learners. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Now I'll just change the colors of this a little subdued one. One sec. I don't like the colors in this theme, but that's okay. Uh, for now, as this is a makeshift presentation. All right. So always keep this tip in mind. After you finish something, review it critically, right? Review your work critically, right? See if you can further reduce any elements on the screen. If you can, uh, please go ahead and do that because like if something is there that is not required, then it will just take your learner's attention away
Yeah.
from the content that you're presenting. All right.
Mhm.
Now, then the most important thing that I could share as far as visualizing is concerned, learn before teaching. All right. Now, this is a tip which I follow to the core. I tell all instructional designers as well. And even graphic designers, your work will go up a notch if you understand the concept
Mhm.
properly of what you are trying to teach. Right. Now, if you see, we designers are pseudo teachers, right? We teach without being there, right?
Mhm.
Via our writing and designs. Okay. Now, in case of a classroom session, like what I am having now, a virtual classroom session with you, in such cases, there is no presentation, but I can still drive the session because I know the content. I can lend the flow. I can assess your reactions, right? But in cases where you're creating self-paced training, right? Your writing and your design becomes a teacher, right? Hence, despite not being there, being a designer, you're teaching people in multiple ways. All right. Uh,
Mhm.
so that's why always think like a teacher cannot teach without learning the topic themselves, right? If you go back to a college, right, we always had good teachers and bad teachers. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, bad teachers were either less prepared, all right, or they didn't care to teach well, or they just didn't know how to teach well. All right. Uh, Similarly, right, we are teachers. If you consider yourself as a teacher, despite being a pure graphic designer as well, like instructional designers, I do consider us all as pseudo teachers. Like if you start considering yourself as a teacher, then you will make an extra effort to understand the concept first properly. I say properly, just think, reflect, and then identify the relationship between people or the concepts that you're teaching so that you can convey to your students properly. That's the main aim. Okay. All right.
Mhm. Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
right. Now what further this will enable you to do is visualization. Uh, what happens is learning, visualization, story. All right. Now you've always heard this this myth that, or not a myth, I would say a saying in the industry that, hey, everyone likes to listen to stories,
Sorry.
engage audience with stories, right?
Mhm.
Engage your audience by telling a story rather than just presenting a content, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you introduce case studies, you introduce characters, you introduce like an actual story, right? Stories do
Mhm.
help. They are examples, right?
Mhm.
Stories do help. They are examples. Uh, uh, but uh, but true foundation of storytelling happens when you understand the concept, right?
Mhm.
And when you can visualize. You cannot. Now, if you see again, I'll go back to the movie example. Humans are used to seeing movies, plays, etc. Right? We remember experiences that we see. Right? Now, what happens is if you can visualize well, right? Right?
Mhm.
Good slide design, such as use of the right diagrams, images, icons, artwork, right?
Mhm.
Leads to creating a visual story on each slide, right?
Mhm.
It shows the relation, right? Now, if you see movies as well, it is something similar, right? We are intrigued by the relation of characters in good movies, right? All right. So unknowingly we just tap into the human brain when we visualize and we present content in a visually engaging manner, right? So this enables you to tell a story. Now another thing that happens with this is you can use your visuals to show the progress in a course, right? If we are having something, let's say a smart art, a simple smart art, right? Something that shows the progress of a person from, let's say, lesson 1 to lesson 5, right?
Mm.
So it is a very simple tip, like lesson 1 or topic 1, I would say, in a process. 1, topic 2, topic 3, topic 4, right? So now at the beginning, I'll have a slide like this. Now when I'm on uh, on the introduction slide of topic 1, what I can do is I can maybe put all these three, the remaining three, in a different color,
Yeah.
right? Just so that the attention is on topic 1. And something simple like this tells
Mm.
a visual story of the progress,
Correct.
right? So story is something which tells a relation. It has a flow of how things move forward, how things are related, and then it has a conclusion, right? So now if I visualize something, a course flow with a diagram like this, then it means that I am uh, telling a story that a learner to a learner that, hey, you're on this, next we'll see this, and then this will be the end of the story. Then you can go home, right? Finish your popcorn and go home. All right. So so that's how visualization helps. So all these things are not very clear, right? I was confused at the beginning of my career. I learned some of these things as I reviewed other courses, as I have been in the industry for years. So I thought I'll just share this hidden tip with you. It why it happens, right? It's something that we are used to engaging with stories, and how as instructional designers or designers we can tap into that aspect of our brain or human brain to engage our audiences, right? So I'll just recap again what we have discussed so far, right? Uh, like foundation of a good design is simplicity, inclusion of relevant elements. Never forget this, huh? Like if
Mm.
the diagram that you have is irrelevant, then no matter how you lay it out, which colors you use. So relevancy is the key as far as anything in the world is concerned. Then use tools like this or other courses to see how you can visualize content better. Then consider your slide design, each slide like a movie, and then build a sequence of movies or web series, as web series is more popular. Just build a relation and then review it
Mhm.
from that perspective. Now you'll be able to achieve all these things, right? What we discussed, you'll be able to keep things simple, visualize things accurately, only if you learn before teaching, right? Now, if you learn before teaching, it will give you the foundation of visualization, and then it will let you tell your story visually as well as with your writing. In case of graphic design, it will be through plain visualization. In case of instructional design or course writers, your storytelling is also like will be defined with the way you write, right? Certain things in your transcription that, hey, now we have concluded this. Next, let's move on to this topic where we will learn how to go about so and so things. Okay.
Right.
So, so yeah, that's now again like this kind of overlaps user experience, functional design, then instructional design. All these things come together in what I have taught so far. Now, how do you ensure it's done in the right way? Always follow certain design basic principles. Okay. Right? Most of these will be provided in the style guide of your client or your company. All right. Now, why I say this is important is you consider the example of, let's say, National Geographic magazine, or do you read any magazine? Right. Any of you, right? Have you read any magazine or any reputed
Ye
magazine?
yes, I have read a few.
Reader's Digest.
Reader's Digest, that's a brilliant one. Anything else? Yeah.
Reader's Digest years ago, though. I
Okay.
haven't read through one in the recent times.
Okay, not a problem. So now Reader's Digest, I'll stick to that example. You got used to certain sections in the way things were laid out, in the way certain things were designed, right? And then if you had to find something, you didn't, after like, let's say 6 months of reading, you didn't have to make an effort to find it. Okay.
Mm.
Uh, so similarly, right, in case you follow a style guide that your organization or client has provided, then your learners are already used to the experience that is defined by the style guide. Okay. So they don't need to make an effort to uh, find or learn what they are trying to learn, right? If you
Correct.
diverge from the style guide, you take the attention away from the content, and you take and then you draw the attention to the new style, because your learner is not to seeing the content in a different color background or in a different font, in a different layout, right? So, so you're taking the attention away from learning to a new design. Okay. Hence, like, it doesn't mean that style guide is restrictive. Style guide is not restrictive at all. Style guide is something that tells you how to be innovative within these parameters, right? So if everyone starts to do or develop courses or design things the way they want to do, a brand identity is not established. A user experience consistency is not established. All right. So hence, when like I'm reviewing your work now, or if your work will be reviewed in any time future by any client or internally, right? So a lot of focus will be on you to learn the way we do things here. It's not because what you're doing is wrong. It's mainly because the main purpose of it is to so that you blend, or the content that you develop, or the designs that you make are aligned to what our target audience is used to seeing, and hence so we provide them with a consistent learning experience. Okay. All right. So, so every organization does things differently. So no matter wherever you go, like you currently you have a check and click, in future you go to any other company. So always refer to the style guide uh, uh, to basically define the way you lay the foundation of your work, right? Because it will take care of a lot of things as far as design is concerned. Next, very basic principle is contrast. All right. If you are using any content, right? If you're using any background color. Now, again, I'll draw an example right away. Right now on this, if I type something, hello, you can read this white. Okay. But mainly because the color is contrasting with the dark green background. But if I, let's say, change it to red, the readability goes down.
Yeah.
Now, if I choose, let's
Mhm.
say, this, it further goes down,
Yeah.
right? So always ensure that uh, your content is this thing is
Contrasting. Yeah.
contrasting with the background color. All right. Then next thing would be alignment. All right. Now all of these things, if you see, they are properly aligned, consistent. The way each slide starts, the place where the heading is, right? So there is no shift from slide to slide. The user experience is consistent, right? Uh, so like the reason this is important is, again, a user or a learner gets used to seeing the heading in a particular place. A learner gets used to seeing heading in a particular color, right? If we use this design template, then the learner will get used to seeing a multicolor headline or a heading for a slide, and a bullet list in this color, right? And with this alignment, right? So alignment is also very important, mainly because it leads to consistency. Consistent learner experience, right?
Yeah.
Lets them, this lets them to. focus on the content that's there where it's supposed to be instead of focusing on finding it. All right. So we are not creating a riddle. So we don't need to lead them to find something like find the relevant content in this slide. We are not creating a riddle, right? So the content needs, if it's aligned properly, if it is consistently aligned across slides, then it leads to uh, them. It leads them to find the content easily, and yeah, because again, like we are not making a riddle. Riddle. All right. Then the other thing is that you need to focus on is space, white space.
Yeah.
Right. So uh, like white space is again very important, right? I do not want to design another reason why the first slide that we saw, right? The one with pixelated background, right? Let me just, okay. So we had a design a background like this, right? On the first slide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So if I use this as a whole slide, there is no white space for me to put in the content. Right. So hence it will be a bad design. Right. Now, if let's say if I do this thing
Yeah.
again. Yeah. So the design is the same. Okay. Like something which was looking better before is now crappy.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
So
cluttered. Yeah.
yeah, it's not. I would not say it's cluttered because it's neatly laid out. If you see all circles are
Yes.
aligned properly. The
Alignment.
spacing is consistent vertically, right? Other principles of design are there, right? I'm using a consistent color theme. It's coming at the place where content comes in, right? There is but still it doesn't work. Okay, because it is lacking white space.
White space.
All right. So white space is also very important as far as your slide design is concerned. All right.
Okay.
Then another thing which you can consider on a case by case basis is rule of third. How many of you are into photography or have heard this rule?
Thought of it.
Heard of it?
Yeah, yeah, heard of it.
Okay.
I have heard it. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great. So I'll just give an example. Rule of third is something wherein if you have let's say an activity, right? It is typically used in photography, this principle. Right. So now with this rule of third, it means you need to have content in places where these lines meet, right? In this color. Again, I would say the lack of contrast in this, it's a bad example, but it gives us a case study of how uh, how things should not be designed, right? However, like in this case, so in case this applies to anything that you're designing, right? If you have an important process diagram where you need to focus on certain areas, let's say top and here, try to place those areas where these lines interact so that a learner's attention is drawn to it. It's something which will be used rarely, I think, in our case, but it's something good to know, wherein in case, let's say you are using a design wherein you have the stock image as the background, if it's giving an error, because in a lot of designs nowadays what happens is we uh, use stock image as a background. All right. So uh, so in this case, if I want to place the title of that here, I'll consider placing it somewhere here if it's a custom design, so that the learner attention is drawn to the title, right? So and then I'll place the subordinate things like point 1, point 2, 3, etc. Okay, again I'll go contrast, so there is consistency or whatever. Okay, if black is looking better, I'll go black.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so rule of third could be handy in certain cases. Like if you see this title in all these slides, whoever is Microsoft designer, he has tried to place the heading close to the rule of third, right? So these are some really nuances or tips. These tips are certain nuances that professional designers or user experience designers follow when designing anything, right? I have just tried to adapt it to e-learning or training and development industry for designing slides. Okay. So yeah, I think I am through with what I had to present. Do you have any questions for me now?